Hey everybody, welcome to another Sandia Mountain Natural History Center quick trip. You might be wondering, what the heck am I doing? Well, I am camping out on the chain of craters Scenic Backcountry Byway, and before we get to see that in the morning, we are treated to a special treat tonight. We are camping out on a full moon, and this happens to be a pink moon. Pink moon is, I don't know if that's more or less rare than a blue moon, but the pink moon is the first full moon in April. Well, we survived our camp last night, and now we're heading out on the chain of craters Backcountry Byway. This is a 33-mile dirt route that runs right along the edge of Malpais National Monument. So the reason this is called Chain of Craters Backcountry Byway is all along the west side of the byway are a series of craters, or basically vents or volcanoes. Some of them, like this one, are bigger than others, but there is a whole line of them heading in a north-south alignment. So we are in the Big Tubes area. But this is very interesting. Before you can go into this area, you are required to go through a little decontamination bath. The reason for this is white nose syndrome. It's a fungus that can get on bats. When it gets on bats, it disrupts their hibernation, and if you disrupt the bat's hibernation, they will usually die. So we're not going to go into any of these big tubes, and I'll explain why in a minute, but we'll go through the decontamination. Walking across this lava is no joke. You gotta be really careful. Sharp, not a smooth spot around. So not only is the trail surface itself very difficult to walk on, but as evidenced by my foot getting stuck, but it's also very difficult to navigate. So the trail is marked by these rock cairns, and you have got to be very careful to make sure that you see the next cairn, because if you don't, it would be very easy to wander out and get hopelessly lost in this lava field, because everything looks the same. So be careful, find the rock cairns. They've been being used for thousands of years, Native Americans. So here's one of the lava tubes. We will not be going down into the lava tubes today for several reasons. One, it's just me, so you should always have 3 people. I don't have the correct gear today, helmets, headlamps, things like that. We don't have a permit, and we do not want to spread white nose disease. But having said all that, hopefully we'll be back. I'll come back, get the proper permits, and we will go down and check out these lava tubes. So this is an interesting little component of Malpais National Monument. In 1943, it was used as a bombing range, and they're not quite sure they got all the bombs picked up. So hopefully we don't step on any bombs on our little jaunt. I'm not sure if I've ever pointed it out before, but this white stuff on this cactus is the cochineal bug. And you think, nah, that looks like fungus. Let's do a little experiment. If you notice, it turned red. Red was one of the hardest dyes to find and make. So when the Spanish were here, they loved to find cochineal bugs and actually went out and on expeditions just for cochineal, because it's the color of royalty, because it's so hard to find and so expensive. And they would make dyes out of this. This is called the caterpillar collapse. I guess it's called caterpillar because it winds around. But you can really see how big these tubes were and are. Here's a huge arch. The way that these tubes form is lava was flowing through and the outer edges cooled. When the outer edges cooled, the inner part kept flowing and formed these tubes. These scenic byways are great ways to get out into really the backcountry. I mean, we are way out in the middle of nowhere, but without having to hike or bike or kayak or any of those things. So for people that have mobility issues or just don't have the strength to do some of those things, I couldn't recommend these more. You do need a fairly good vehicle, but once you have that, I mean, the scenery around here is spectacular. Found an old homestead out here. It's always amazing to me to think about how people would have lived out here. Very difficult conditions. Actually looks like a packrat midden in the middle of the ruin here. Tough to tell, but packrats can occupy a midden for hundreds and hundreds of years. They actually are a great way to study ecosystems because their scat shows the different seeds of plants and can show how an ecosystem has changed over time. There's old car parts out here. I'm not a car expert, but based on the fenders and the front clip, and looks like part of the windshield looks like a 1920s era Ford, which would tell us about the age of this homestead. But after the road we've been on, this is about what your car would look like if you weren't careful. Got a whole herd of mule deer right there. It's been a while since we've had wildlife sighting on our quick trips. Pretty cool. So here's a little section of the Continental Divide trail. If we go down this trail, we will eventually wind up in Antelope Wells right on the Mexican border. So things are really starting to open up. Looks like we're just about the end of Chain of Craters Scenic Byway. I hope you like that. It was a little bit different adventure than we might be used to, but still a lot of fun. We appreciate you watching, and we will catch you on the next one.